All right, well, it's almost lunchtime here in Des Moines, Iowa. So let me introduce myself. I'm Chef Enosh Kelly at the from the Iowa Forge here in Des Moines. Beautiful sunny day here, and I thought I'd have you into my kitchen and we'd make something real quick. I'm gonna do pasta carbonara. Something pretty simple. Good chance you probably have these ingredients at home, and I'm hoping you will enjoy it. First, I'm gonna start by making fresh pasta dough. This is something you can do at home, or you can substitute with a dry pasta if you like. About 1 pound of dry pasta would be plenty for 4 people. Let's see here. So here I have 1 3/4 cups of flour, and I'm gonna do what we call the pasta well method. So first, as you can see, put it out. Make a little well here. And I'll just give you the pasta recipe real quick. All right, so it's 1 3/4 cups of AP flour. And then here I have 6 egg yolks that I already cracked and separated. So 6 yolks and 1 whole egg. I also have 1½ teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil and a tablespoon of milk. And it's all just in there. And I'm gonna pour that in here and I'll make the pasta in 1 second. Now, while I'm doing that, the other part of the recipe, the carbonara part, calls for 4 whole eggs, you could just cut this in half and make a smaller version. And this is 2 cups of grated Parmesan Reggiano. You could use grated Parmesan Reggiano or any different types of grated white Italian cheddar style cow milk cheese. 1 pound of slab bacon, which you can use just regular bacon too, or pancetta or guanciale, any type of Italian cured pork product, which this is a pork bacon that I just diced into lardons. I have some garlic, and then I have a little bit of olive oil, a couple tablespoons of olive oil. So 4 eggs, 2 cups of cheese, 1 pound of bacon, 4 cloves of minced garlic. I don't know if I mentioned that, 4 cloves of minced garlic, and a couple tablespoons of olive oil. While I'm making this pasta dough, I'm going to get the the oil hot, and I'm going to brown the bacon. And then we'll come back to this after we get the pasta made. So, well, that's happening. Medium-high heat on the bacon. Start with a hot pan. All right, so that's working. Let's get this going. So this is a fun way to make pasta. This is the original way to do it. So I start with the well method, meaning I made the well in the flour dough. I'm going to use my hands here. That's the fun part. And I'm just going to, I just like to start with my 2 fingers and start to break up the yolks and slowly start to work in a little flour here as I do that. This won't take long. Stirring it, kind of kick a little flour in from the edges, kind of like the edge of the volcano. I'll just knock those down in there. Oh, a little bit got out, no problem. Just keep it in there. Grabbing some from the sides and just trying to work it in. Eventually this will come together and it'll stick together. Once it comes together, we'll just use it, our hands to knead it together. We'll need to let this rest after you make this, just so the gluten that it develops gets a chance to relax. Otherwise the dough will be too elastic when you roll it out and it won't be any fun. Should have some music playing in the background. Where's my key grip? to here, I'm just gonna start to kind of work it in a little bit. Just fold it over. Keep the flour. I'm just trying to keep the flour contained too when I do this. You can do this on a sheet pan maybe or something if you have a countertop and you don't want to get flour all over. Or you can do it in a mixer. But eventually you're going to get both hands in here. Bacon looks good. I have some hot water boiling on the stove too. Now with the pasta machine I have, well, we'll get to that in a second here. So I already have some pasta made, which I made yesterday, just to let it rest overnight. Like I said, it'll only take an hour. You can make this in the morning and have it ready, be ready for you in the afternoon. Here we go. Now you can see it starts to come together. So I'm just going to keep rounding up all the little bits and just kind of packing them on. Fold it over. May seem a little dry when you start, but as you can see, it's starting to come together here. So I'm just hope I pushed the recording button properly on this. Just recording this on my iPhone, so looks like the bacon's doing just fine. Don't need to stir that a whole lot. I like to have a little brown. You can cook it however you like it. All right, see? There we go. See that? Probably only took 10 minutes, if that, but cracking the eggs and weighing out the flour doesn't take very long either. All right, so, and then you can see, so I'll just take it and I just fold it and press it and roll it. Now you're gonna want to do this maybe for 5 minutes or so. And this is kind of the therapeutic part where you kind of get to work it. And you'll notice it'll start to get a little smoother. Should look about like that. That's pretty good. Now I would mix this a little more. That's pretty good. So there's your dough. Once that's done, you want to let it rest. Like I said, the gluten will need to relax. Otherwise it'll want to come back together when you stretch it out. So you can wrap it in plastic wrap. You want to get all the air out of it. Pasta dough can oxidize because the egg yolk's in there. So you just wrap it up like that. You put it in the fridge overnight if you want. Just remember to pull it out like an hour or so before you use it so that it's pliable and it's not cold and hard. So I'm going to stir my bacon here. I'll show you that when it's done. Okay. That's not stuck in my throat. I've got pasta machine here. This is pretty nice when it's powered. You can get attachments for your KitchenAid if you have one of those, or I have a hand crank one. It's just in storage. I would have used that. And those are great for your home use. You don't really need anything other than that because it's easy to store. And to be honest, you don't make pasta too often. So got my piece here. I'm just going to cut it into chunks to make it workable size, so I can run it through my machine, get a sheet. So I think 4 pieces should be good. You could even use a rolling pin if you had a nice work surface. Lay out some flour. So once I get here, to get it through my machine, I'm going to open this up to the widest setting to start with and get all these going. Try to get them into squares. I try to get them shaped a little bit so when they go through the machine they will kind of start out square instead of having to try to get the corners and the edges square. If you end up with a nice rectangle sheet, the better the yield you will get from when you cut the pasta. Because if it's all parallelograms and has large angles, you'll get funny cuts when you run it through the pasta die. That doesn't matter, but all right. I have my waters on back there. I have some salt in it. I just have a little flour here. Flour just acts like a lubricant, kind of. So, a little thinner. I don't want to break my machine. There we go. That's pretty good. Alright, that's working hard. So I'm going to fold it over and run it back through, and then continue to do that a few times to help stretch the gluten. I'll fold it over, and I'm going to fold it this way and run it through this way. One more time. That's pretty good. Now I'll just start cranking down reducing the size on the pasta splitter. I'm going to get the sheet of pasta dough down to the thickness that I want for my pasta. Not doing too bad. It's nice smooth edges. That's good. You see a lot of serrated edges. I mean, your pasta dough is a little dry. I've used this recipe quite a few times, and I enjoy it. There's lots of pasta recipes out there. Feel free to try a few. Dry. Two's pretty good here. You don't want to make it too thin or it'll break when you cook it, but you don't want it too thick, it'll get gummy. I'm going to go a little thinner. A little flour on there. Hopefully I work with this quick enough. It's always a good idea to keep your pasta dough covered up so it doesn't dehydrate. You'd be surprised how fast it'll dry out in the open air. And then it's no fun. So we'll start over here. I'll try to run these through real quick. Thought about making this ahead of time, but fold it over again. Once again, I opened it back up to the whitest setting. I don't want to add a lot of flour to the pasta when I'm running it through, just enough to just keep it from sticking. So if it's not sticking, I wouldn't add any flour. It can get a little dry and harder to work with if it's too dry. You want a little elasticy, so a little sweet spot with the pasta. You don't want too dry, you don't want too wet. You want, just right, Goldilocks. When you're folding this and running it through, you'll see it'll start to get a little blonder in color, and that's kind of where you want to be. I'm trying to speed it up. I might fold these actually a few more times if I wasn't doing a demo. Just might just try to push through this quickly. So there we go. You can see that's looking really good. All right, I'll do it one more time. That looks good. There we go. I think that looks good. Crank her down now. Sometimes if the machine gets jammed up, you can kind of pull back on the dough and stretch it and help it, try to aid the machine and getting that dough through there. I went down to 1 on that last one, so we'll do the same on this. And when you're kneading it in the machine, kind of by folding it and stuff, you can also try to work it into a manageable shape while that's happening and try to get a more desirable shape. You can't put it in too thin, otherwise it cracked. The last one I went through was a little crackier than I like. More edge cracks, this one's looking good. All right, last one. can see the bacon starting to get a little brown. We're getting pretty close. Might go a little further. Some people might want to stop there, but shortly here, I'm going to put the bacon in there, or the garlic, I'm sorry. And a little hiccup there. Alright, it's been about 20 minutes since I started. One of the reasons I wanted to make the pasta is kind of demonstrate how quickly you can do it. And if you make pasta dough the day ahead of time, you can stretch out the pasta and cut it all in the morning, and in the evening you got fresh pasta. Now, it's fresh pasta right now versus dry pasta, which we're all familiar with. And fresh pasta does cook differently, quite a bit differently than dry pasta. Obviously, it's still hydrated, so there's moisture in it, and that makes it cook quite quickly. All right, see, now we're done with that point here. Let's see, turn that off for a second so I can think. Now, we'll make the, I think I'm going to do fettuccine for this, just for a little more durable noodle. Alright, the bacon looks right where I want it. Alright, since I don't have a camera over there, so I'm going to throw the garlic in there now. Just have it on low heat. A little bit of garlic here, right at the end. I'll put the garlic in right at the end because that'll, like that great garlicky flavor will stay in there. If I had put that in there in the beginning, it would have fallen out. So I kind of want that at the forward of the palate when we finish the dish, and that will help with that. So we're only going to cook it for a minute or so just to cook the garlic oils, and then we'll turn it off. Okay. Alright, now back to the pasta dough here. I'm just going to trim my edges because I like to start with a square edge here. And I think you could cut these in half. But we'll cut them in half, I decided. And I'm just going to try to line that up and drop it straight through. So it's nice. Once it's about halfway through, pick it up like that. I'll lay it here for a moment. I'll take the other half and drop it straight in there. You got to line it up just right because you don't want to twist it left or right on the way in, otherwise your noodles will get cut. So you want to, you want a nice long noodle. And it's kind of one point where you pay a little attention, you get some nice, beautiful fettuccine. So typically, at that point, I'll just sprinkle a little bit of flour on there. Kind of shake it in there. You know what I make what I call a bird nest. And you can just make a little swoop. Pan right here. Bang out the rest of this real quick. Good. Add some more. So it makes about 4 orders of pasta, 1.5 cups of flour, 6 eggs. One yolk, tablespoon of milk, 1.5 teaspoons of olive oil. Some of those, why not? And look, I didn't even make that big of a mess. Just gotta get the right pasta dough recipe, and you won't have to use too much flour. Okay, I'll use this another day. Crank up my pasta water here. I hope everybody can see everything okay. All right. My 4 eggs are in here. Got my, I got some frozen peas. I like to put little peas in my carbonara. It's a nice contrast. I also usually finish with parsley. I don't have any parsley today, so a little color always helps. We got my eggs in here. Whisk up the eggs. Got 2 cups cheese. Put a little bit of fat in here. And then we're going to put some of the pasta water in here once we cook our pasta. So, excuse me. Okay. I cooked off the rest of the bacon earlier, so I'm just kind of reheating that right now. A little bit of oil left in the pan. I drained off most of the fat. You want to drain off the fat, use it, and then discard the rest. Alright, this thing makes an annoying noise, so I hope it doesn't bother you too much. I have my colander set up in the sink, of course. This water's boiling here. I have some kosher salt in there. I like to use kosher salt. Taste a little bit. Very good. My eggs were room temperature, which is a good idea to start with some warm eggs because we're not really going to cook the eggs. We don't want to scramble them. We're going to let the heat from the pasta kind of cook the eggs when we toss it with it. So I'm just going to try to warm it up a little bit more here. Just with the steam from the want to get some energy in there, so when I put the pasta in there, you know, we really get the eggs to cook really well. And you can see it's getting smoother as it warms up a little bit. It's a little warm over there. I'm putting a glove on here. A little bit of salt in here. The Parmesan Reggiano, if you use real Parmesan Reggiano, it's going to be really salty, so just want to be careful not to put too much. But I always say you can always add more, but you can't take it out when you're cooking. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I want to get this to where I want it before I cook the pasta, because like I said before, the fresh pasta will cook very quickly, whereas dry pasta, as we all know, takes 7 or 8 minutes depending on the type of pasta. So I'm just kind of what in the industry or when we're cooking is called tempering the egg, okay, which is basically meaning we're slowly warming it up to a point where we can get it to cook, but we don't make it into scrambled eggs. Temper it. So, and then once I add the hot pasta water, I'm going to put about a cup or so in here, and I'll whisk that into, and that'll really help temper the eggs. So in the meantime, I just put them in a little bit of hot water here. Get that cheese warmed up. All right. Meanwhile, so here I've got, you can see the pound of slab bacon that I diced up and browned off earlier. It's in there with the garlic. Okay, pasta time. Slowly just going to drop that in there. Just want to make sure it all kind of falls in there separately. I don't want it to stick together. Especially I took all that time making it, so. Uncovered salt water. I got my stuff getting warm here. Heating it. Now we want to use the pasta water, one, because it's hot, and two, the eggs are definitely going to thicken the sauce and give it some body, but a lot of times recipes do call for pasta water, and that water can give sauces some body because it has some flour and some gluten kind of dissolved into it, so it can be act as a thickener. So yeah, these eggs are getting nice and bright yellow, and they're creamy and smooth looking, so that I can tell they're warming up. So pasta should only take about 3 minutes. I think it would have been better if I'd have had both recipes of pasta in here for the amount of sauce I made. I guess I'll just have to eat leftovers. Well, my boys are, I have 3 boys and my wife, and everyone's hungry. Alright. Perfect. Take my pasta water. Yeah, a cup and a half, that's about right. We're going to use that, we're going to make a sauce, so we're going to use that to kind of temper those eggs in a little bit. Quick, get this off the heat, I'll be right back. Okay, here's the pasta. Slowly going to add it into the eggs. Alright. Now we're going to start to move real quickly here. I'm just going to start to warm those peas up. Those were just frozen peas. I love frozen peas. Use them all the time. Another nice thing about this meal is that you don't have to use a lot of pots and pans, but making the pasta might be a bit of a stretch. So here we go. I hear somebody's getting hungry down there. So I'm just going to put the pasta right into the sauce, and you can just see it's now good. It's nice and creamy, and I just added enough water to kind of get it to where I wanted it to be. It was kind of smooth and saucy. Now we're going to let it sit in here with this hot pasta, and that will cook the eggs the rest of the way. And with that cheese, yeah. So once that's kind of where I want it, just toss it around a little bit. I'm going to dump it in here, put it in the bowl, I'll put some fresh cheese on it. I'm just going to pull it apart. I'm just trying to stretch it out so it's not all clumped together. Okay. Trying to get it mixed in there. It's not mixing so well. We'll get the sauce on everything, hopefully. It's going to have a little more of that water. A little tight, so I want it kind of saucy. I don't want it all stuck together. So let's see if we can get it where we want it. Usually about a cup of water should be about right for that. Almost done. Put the finishing touches on it here. Voila. Look at that. Huh? All right, I used all the Reggiano that I had in the sauce. Full disclosure, so whatever, the stuff's just fine too. It'll work for the sauce too. I'm just gonna finish it with a little cheese. And lunch is served. Took almost exactly 40 minutes for me to make the pasta and the sauce and everything from start to finish. So bon appetit, everybody. Enjoy, and we'll see you next time.